Olá, bem-vindos e bem-vindas a mais uma edição do nosso podcast de Novos Humanos. Uma edição especial, it's gonna be in English, vai ser em inglês. And we are here again with a very special guest. And today we have kind of two special guests. So Ligia Zotini is kind of a guest today. I'm Tânia Zacharias. I'm here with Ligia Zotini and Peter Mary. For this special edition, we are today actually in the offline time. We are launching today the new book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's live.
it's time. And we are here to listen to them about whole performers and all the magic around this. So welcome again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm a little nervous, okay? I'm gonna admit that because I have this place of interviews, these two celebrities. So so I think starting from the beginning, so people can understand what is whole performer. So we put everybody on the same page, and then we go coming from there.
Well, a whole performer is someone who can access the full spectrum of human intelligences, as well as all the different value systems that we develop as we grow up as adults. And the key thing about whole performers is that with that full spectrum of intelligences and value systems, that they're able to cope with far more complexity. So they're able to deal with a lot more of what's going on in the world. And they have the kind of capacity that's really needed at the moment to deal with the challenges we're facing in the world. So as one might expect from nature evolves in the context of ecosystems. And if the ecosystem evolves, nature adapts. And humans are nature. We're part of nature. And so as the world is changing around us, we're finding that these new value systems, these new ways of coping, these new ways of making sense of the world and coming up with solutions are coming online. Now, this is happening in individuals. This is what you've been discovering, I think, with new humans. And it's going to keep happening just because that's the nature of who we are. We're incredible human beings. We have this ability to be able to adapt and respond to changes around us. The question is, are our institutions going to change with us? So can we actually evolve our organizations? Can we evolve our communities? Can we evolve our governments, our ways of making decision that will enable the full capacity of these whole performers to really bring what they have to bear and help humanity as a whole move forward? So that's the opportunity we're facing right now.
And I think, Peter, the beauty of it, I remember when we met in UK and I gave you a copy of my book, Futuros, the Futures. And then I opened up the spiral dynamics page and I just wrote like, help me here. I did not expect that the help would be a whole book. That's the beauty of this moment for me. What was my participation? Peter wrote the book based on this amazing experience you have with the spiral, with changing and leading organizations, helping people inside the organization leading their own changes. But I remember that breakfast in Brasilia that you asked me about my own career. So what's my participation in the book besides being pretty close, exchanging with new humans and all the things that we have been checking? It was like describing my journey. And the book brings exactly this, like through a journey of a person who was considered a high performance in a big tech company. Peter was pointing out how the shift happens from high to whole, how a person goes in their or his or her own journey, and in a moment, as happened to me, something broke. Something stopped me. In my case, was a burnout. And from there, I needed to go inner and get to know myself and I needed at least, it was a sabbatic. People call sabbatic, but it was 1.5 years of a journey inside of me and trying to bring what was really important, the topics that make me really Ligia and all this plural and diverse and all this unique part of me. And then I turned it into a company called Voicers, and then I started going on. So in each part of the book, each chapter, there is a part of my narrative, and he was explaining that it was not only for Ligia that happens this way. There is something that repeats in this journey of going into a whole performer, making whole performance, and how a company or organization can better fit these talents that are going to be very necessary for complexity in the future.
I remember, like, in the first maybe 1 or 2 episodes, we were talking about the research, New Humans research, and how we were identifying that the shifts that happens to people. And people, many of you were writing to us on Instagram saying, you are describing what is happening to me. I'm having this, I'm having this burnout. So what you are saying that is basically there's this pattern, and what we are calling symptoms, burnouts, or whatever the way it's happening to people, it's pretty much a shift of consciousness, a inner calling, that if you go through and we go deep on that, it can take you to the next level of something that is nature to life, of the development of life, and it can be a new base of development of new way of leadership, right? And in this context, what we see here is that people are experiencing this as a person. So I think the good point for us to go is like how companies, how organizations can do the container, as you, Peter, always say, to help this without opening space for something that is personal, but it's also professional. There is when we talk about putting human things in the center of conversation, we have the mix of the person and the leader, the container of the company, which opens space for us to develop in, but it's also a place that we need to bring results. So let's talk a little bit of this. How can we do this in a way that it's structured, but that takes us to the next level?
Yeah. No, I think the power of whole performers is the developmental model that we have in it, this understanding of how people evolve. And once you've got that understanding, that can prevent this whole burnout cycle that goes on. Because what is happening during that burnout process is that somebody is essentially reaching the limit of their current value system, their current stage of development, and finding that the world around them doesn't give them space to take the next step, to take the next stage. And when you get that lack of fit, that's when we burn out, basically, because we can't see how we can fit into the context. I mean, when Darwin talked about survival of the fittest, he wasn't talking about survival of the strongest. He was talking about survival of the ones that fit the best in their ecology. So it's very much an ecological and biological effect. When we find we can't fit, our body winds us down because we're no use. It's the message we're getting is that we're no use to the context. We're no use to our ecology. So it winds us down so that we can actually try to find a way to fit again. Now, the key is that this high performance culture comes out of a very specific stage of development that's been mapped by many, many different researchers and many different lines of development that have been described. And in the model we use, spiral dynamics, it's called the achiever self. And it's given the color orange. And in the achiever self, the focus is on manifesting your highest potential, always driving forward, getting results more and more, using the maximum of your rational mind to analyze what's going on and to keep performing at the highest that you can. So when it first emerged out of what was very much a kind of, let's say, order-driven, rules-based system, it was very liberating for the individual. But when you reach the limit of that, you need, what you're looking for then is some kind of collective context again for who you are, because you've gone the self route, the self-expression. But if you start to unplug from the collective, you start to get stressed because you don't have any roots, you don't have any context to it. So the next stage in the development is called the sensitive self. And you see that people move, if their development goes naturally from achiever self to sensitive self. And the sensitive self is when we become aware that we have a whole inner world, a very rich inner world. We have a whole emotional context that's really important. And we look to nurture our emotional context as well as support other people to come into that emotional context. So we're looking to, make people happy, not just to get more and more. And we become sensitive to suffering in the world. We become sensitive to environmental issues, all these kind of things. And if we can't find a context in which we can express ourselves with those values, then that's when we start to get stressed and burn out. And because we're like, I can't keep living this life.
Which is grim at this point.
Yeah, so the sensitive self in the spiral dynamic system is the green value system. Now, if I can just make one more point, which is if organizations were able to track people moving through these developmental levels, which is why the developmental perspective is so important, rather than them hitting the limits and burning out and having stress and not being able to work and costing the companies lots of money, they would be able to notice when they're ready to make that shift and support them in that process. Because those people are then developing new intelligences that are going to be of value to the organizations that they work in. But they have to understand the developmental journey that people go through and how to create the conditions for them to be able to express themselves healthily in that next stage of development.
Just for those who are like bumping into the podcast, we talked a little bit of spiral and all the scholars that Peter is mentioning here, I believe in episode 5. So you can just go there and come back to fully understand. And Ligia, how was that for you? So how was your path on that?
Yeah, because all these scholars are value systems. So at the end of the day, when I describe it to Peter there, that breakfast, what happened to me was exactly this moment. I rated like super orange, but 10 years ago, companies are not ready for that conversation yet. We did not had like pandemic, diversity narratives, all the things that happen to green. Green is that plural, diverse, human, all this, the sensitive self that Peter is mentioning is inside the green value system. At that moment, it was not there. I was like 2015, 16. We didn't call burnout what I was having that moment. Like all this mental health. Here in Brazil, we have the legal part now with NR1, which is pretty much a law, Peter, that protects the mental health inside the companies. So it's huge.
This year,
like
to be mandatory.
yeah, so it's something happening. But like 10 years ago, in order to leave my sensitive self, I need to leave a company that was my entire life. So it was pretty hard for me to break with that company after almost 15 years working there. So in order to develop this sensitive self, this diversity, plural and whatever, it needed to be outside. What Peter is telling us is doesn't need to be like this anymore. There are other ways to do that.
Yeah, and the advantage to a company, if they create the context to enable somebody like Ligia to stay in the company, is that the general directionality of development is increasing complexity, is our ability to deal with more and more complexity. And that's very logical because just like an acorn grows into an oak tree, each new stage transcends but includes the previous stage, which means there's more complexity, which means you're able to deal with more complexity in the world. So when you move from achiever self to sensitive self, you're actually bringing online intelligences such as emotional intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, much more human qualities that enable us to deal with more in the world, to deal with more complexity in a way that means we're also not going to burn out in that process. So it's in the organization's interests to build in ways for people to be able to develop further, because as they develop, they're going to add greater value to the organization. And given the complexity of the world and the speed of change, we really need people who've got that kind of capacity to be able to help run and lead these organizations.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I would add people because Peter, because by now we are telling that high performance need the sensitive self, which is the green part of the value system of plural diversity humans. But actually, we understand that whole performance are yellow. So tell more about that before we move on.
Yeah.
I think it's better.
Yeah, well, in this understanding of development, what tends to happen is we swing between two poles. One of the poles is where we're really focused on expressing ourselves, this need for our unique identity to bring that into the world. The other pole is the pole of connection to others. You could say an I pole and a we pole. And the orange achiever self is very much the I am out there, I'm expressing. When you move across to the sensitive self, you're not so interested in that anymore. You're interested in community, connection, harmony, well-being. And if you just stay there, you're not going to get many results because you haven't got that express self, generative energy that comes from the other side. So there are organizations, try to develop this kind of green sensitive self culture. And very quickly they come back on it because suddenly they find everyone nobody's interested in getting results anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to focus the end goal on the next express self value system, the next I value system, which is the yellow integral self value system. But it's like stepping stones, to move from orange to yellow, you have to go through this green. It's the green sensitive self, intelligence and capacity that shifts this orange achiever self value system to the yellow integral self value system. And the integral self, when it comes out of this green kind of almost daydream, it's like,
Yeah,
oh
it is.
no, there are a lot of problems in the world. We're not going to solve them by singing Kumbaya together.
No, not by activism as well. So
we need to get back into the world and we need to solve these problems quickly. So yellow brings with it that sensitivity, but then it moves back into action. But it takes a kind of wide lens and a whole systems perspective on it. And when Claire Graves did the original research into these value systems, yellow had a radically different quality to it than the first 6 value systems. He noticed it took an exponential leap in its ability to deal with complexity, and that was because it was no longer attached to its own worldview. So you can think of the earlier value systems. Every time you move into a value system, you're kind of embedded like a fish in water in that value system, and you think all the others are wrong. So orange thinks the green sensitive self's a bunch of fluffy hippies. The green sensitive self think orange a bunch of materialist pigs. Blue, anybody in blue structure, order, kind of are old-fashioned bureaucrats. Each value system is very judgmental until yellow realizes, wow, these all have a function.
We need them all.
Yeah, we need them all.
We need them all.
There's a developmental pathway. They each have a role to play. And so yellow becomes the kind of meta-architect, who weaves all the pieces together to solve the problems that we're facing. So that's why you can't stay in green, but you can't skip green either.
That's real. Repeat, Peter.
Yeah.
Because usually, people jump or try to jump. Green
what
very
will happen?
fast.
Or sink.
Or sink.
Or sink in green. They
this is
either
what we
try
can-
to jump or either they sink.
This is what we can expect to happen as whole performance gets out there, right? Orange, achiever driven, always wants to be the best.
Yes, the yellow.
So orange is going to go,
I want to be
I'm
yellow.
a whole performer.
I want to be yellow. I'm yellow
and
already.
I am yellow.
Unless they go through the green sensitivity, they'll just be a high performer on speed. They won't be a real whole performer because you have to develop those human intelligences. That's what actually enables you to be able to access more intuitive knowing, to work with the emotional intelligence, to work with the somatic intelligence, to be able to follow the signs from your body, and to be able to create far greater effects with far less effort. So you'll become a lot more effective and you won't burn out. And you'll create trust around you because you see everybody in their for who they are and the place that they are. You honor the contribution they have to make. So all of these capacities start to come online when you get to the integral self.
So, if you are orange and you did this thing, okay, I'm a yellow now, so go to therapy, go to inner self, just to make a little fun of it. But if someone is listening to us and identifies themselves very green. It is the sensitive person that is there, talking and inebriated by all this. How them move to the next level?
Yeah. Now, the key is that there's nothing to force here, right? You can't push the river. So immerse yourself in as much green as you want to. Enjoy it, like well in it, And at some point, you'll feel the itch. At some point, you'll feel, I need to do something. I need to do something about all of this stuff in the world. And that's when when your value systems are starting to switch back to the express self mode. But what I would say is if you're kind of feeling that now, then the trick is to find projects and that'll make a positive impact in the world. It's like, what's something I can connect to, even if it's voluntary or whatever, but find a way to start to re-engage the world, because green often kind of pulls back and is kind of really interested in its own inner self, its inner development, creating harmony with everybody else, isn't really interested in getting into the world directly.
But I see this as I deal with a lot of green people, like in my daily life, working with people development. So, and I want to go a little deeper on this because I think there is a key here that would be nice so people can recognize themselves. And because sometimes like doing, they are engaged with their own feelings and they working, developing other people. And there is a feeling of I'm doing something in the world. But when you speak, I sense it's like something different. And I'm trying to capture this difference. When this, what is the difference between the feeling of, okay, no, but I'm already contributing, doing my activism or many things that people are doing something. It's not that they are just laying down. But when we go to the next level, or if someone is, what would be this next to doing something? Because there is a difference. Can you touch what I'm? So can you say a little bit more of this?
Yeah, I'd say the difference is that yellow is the integral self is really what comes first is the impact.
Good. So
your personal development work is always done in service of the impact, not for its own end.
Healing, or
not for its own means. So at some point, the reason that people who have the integral self active do their personal development work is because they realize that they need to do it to be more effective in the world, to be of greater service. Green does it for the sake of its work, of its own inner work, which is really, really valuable, right? Don't get me wrong, it's really important. And let's remember, we need to, in a way, kind of avoid talking about green people, yellow people, orange people, because what they are is these are value systems that kind of light up in us, depending on the life conditions and what the life conditions ask of us. So we all have all the previous value systems that we move through, we all have them in us, and they can light up at different times as we need them. And we nearly always have a combination of a express self I value system and what Claire Graves called a sacrifice self we value system. So it might be orange and green, or it might be green and yellow, or it might be orange and blue, or the order driven. So there's always two kind of key centers of gravity that we have. But as personalities and our different personality types, we tend to have a preference either for the I systems or for the we systems.
This is new for me.
This is more kind of personality type stuff. So we prefer being out there, maybe it's a bit more extrovert in the world, making a difference. And so if we're in orange and we're looking for the next step, we'll just dip our toe in enough green to turn our orange yellow. So to make
again,
to
turn our eye again.
Yeah, to make the achiever self and the high performer become a whole performer. But does have to be enough of that green sensitive self to make it possible. If we have a preference for the we systems and kind of collectives and not really putting ourselves out so much, but connecting people and those kind of things, then, for example, if we're moving from the order-driven we systems of rules and making sure everybody knows who they are and where they are and how they fit, we'll just dip our toe in enough orange to enable green, the sensitive self to come online. So it's those two dynamics are always going on. And so when we think of it, we need to think of value systems in people rather than people as certain colors.
Good.
That's beautiful. And I think that's the beauty of the book. Me and Tânia, we are very into the colors because New Humans is all about that. When we started having this conversation, that beautiful breakfast morning in Brasilia, we always say that New Humans is above orange, but we can say now that New Humans is above these achiever selves, because those lens, the lens of this research, wants to know where are the sensitive selves, the integral selves, the holistic selves. We are, because there is a lot of studies into high performance, into achievers, and the rulers, the controllers, all the systems before orange, before the achiever self. But few studies, mainly in Brazil, goes after who are these New Humans, who are these whole performers, why does this integral self means a lot in this exactly moment in time. And you keep repeating, we are about to have the highest complexity
Ever.
in the planet.
We already have it.
Yeah,
It's already
we are
here.
already here. So and then like there's no way achiever can be faster than he's already or she's already been. We need to have this integral, and to be this integral, being, you need to deal with that's what happened to me, to Tânia, to Jenny, to everyone, that we need to be in touch with our body and with our capacity of sensing reality besides the mind and the intellect. That's the aha moment to me in my sabbatical moment, and how the things evolve from there. And when you are so fast, and I can be fast, and when you are so, I discovered in this journey that I love blue. That I'm a huge blue. Like when I am delivering, like these last 2 weeks, I was so blue, like organizing, control, rules, bureaucrats. I can hack them all, but to hack them, I need to know them. So I can come easily from yellow to blue and stay there. And but at the end of the day, the beautiful lesson of this book is Peter gave concept, science, and names from things that we have been checking for the last 2 years. And from that,
we thank you so much.
It's a huge thank you.
Translating all this, right?
Because we were just like in the adjective. Oh, orange, it's like executive and entrepreneur. Greens are activists and eco people. And we need much more than that.
And it's beautiful. It's very beautiful when to be explained, like
translated.
Translated.
It's about
because
being seen.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, but you gave like this very concrete and beautiful answer to one thing that me and Ligia, we of course we go researching, and there are few people we know, and we were like, okay, those 3 or 4, they left their companies and they are doing an amazing job, and it's being very fast. You know the names. And we were very interested in what happened to them. Now we know they were already a high performer, as many of the leaders we work with and I work with in my company. But they started the inner work when they were inside their own companies, and when they left, they were already integrated. So they brought companies to a world where Vanessa, which is you're the
persona.
She's the persona. She left the company and she's doing an amazing job. Like in 2 years, her company has grown a lot, and she's doing an amazing work of impact and everything. And you can see that there is something different here. So having that said, that leads to another question that is here in my heart, and I want to hear both of you on that, because I always say, when we talk about consciousness and everything, I say it takes a lot of time to people to develop. Not the access, but to change the stage. And I've been seeing this every day. So when I hear you, Peter, saying about companies giving space for that, container for that, and it's not that the world's gonna get complex. It is already complex. So we need that for yesterday, not putting pressure, but and people take time. Um how manage this compass? I don't know if there is a compass in the way you see, so I want to know about this. And the other one, which is connected, and I'm gonna bring to the table, so we move from this, is for a company to have space to go there, we need to start from the CEOs or the high level leadership, because it has to become a culture of the company, right? So it has to come to higher leadership, and those are the one more burnouts ever. There is this research here in the I think it was a Price Water research. They said that 76% of CEOs are saying that they're like with a lack of sleep. They don't have time for anything and they're burning out. We all know that, but it's a very, very high number. And at this level of burnout and cortisol, you don't even have inner space for empathy for the others. You are in the survival mode. So, and we don't see a lot of people doing this inner work. So how we put these pieces together, the need of a cultural an organization, what we see about the current leadership and the situation, the time that people takes to develop, and the needs of the this is quite a
Yeah. No. I mean, to come back to one of the things you said earlier first, which was how these people are often leaving companies and then setting up their own that are being very successful, right?
yeah.
Well, this is the warning to current companies. If they don't adapt and create space for the whole performers will leave.
Yeah.
And then they'll set up other companies that will outcompete their original companies. Right? That's the reality of it.
Yeah, this is
They
what
will-
we've seen, right?
They will create new businesses that will be far more effective than the old business that they were a part of, if that old business doesn't evolve beyond the achiever self and the high performance culture. So that's the reality of it. Oops.
Yes, that's the reality.
That's the tipping point.
It's gonna turn the table.
Mikhail Gorbachev, during the end of the Cold War and everything, used to talk about the importance of ruthless realism. He called it ruthless realism. So being ruthlessly realistic, which is looking reality in the eye and not denying it, but allowing it to be true and to work on you. Because if you don't face it, then it doesn't give us the chance for those intelligences to evolve. Right? It's when our whole being really feels, oh my word, if we don't shift this organization now, we're going to lose the best people, we're not going to attract good people, and we'll be outcompeted before we know it. Right? That's the reality. And so people have to really face that, or else they won't have the energy to evolve. And before they know it, they'll be, out of the market, basically. So I just wanted to build on that, the example you gave of Vanessa, for example.
No, and I think that's why, Peter, Tânia and I and Jenny also, we have our next movement with New Humans that we are going to start to talk this week, but officially it's going to be deployed in the next semester, which is basically, we understand how long it takes to develop a person into the yellow thing, or this integral self. But we want to map and grouping those leaders. At this very moment, our next movement is going to try to get more of those leadership together and see what we can do as a group. It could be like from big companies and could be for small companies. But I think the calling is, we want to know you guys, because as far as we could understand, it's a kind of 4% in the population. Probably they are feeling alone, working a lot, and say, maybe I'm getting, I'm going nowhere because it's only me. If 4% of the leadership, it's this integral self, they probably are going to feel a lot of time in the next 10 years very alone. So we want to map them. And we are called like Leadership 2070. Do you wanna make the honor?
Well, can I just say,
Yeah.
there may be 4% in the leadership, but I think a lot of the younger generation are developing the sensitive self
Yeah,
already.
they are.
And they're struggling to know, do I really want to enter a kind of orange high performance workplace and then sacrifice my mental health and my, my
No,
private
before you
life
answer, we
and
are here
everything
in the moment of the present. I just left the Swile event. Swile is bringing you here to Brazil, so thank you, Swile. And it was there in the morning. The anthropologist, which got very famous here in Brazil, called Michel Acoforado. He opened the event you are gonna close, and he was bringing data there. Like why the young generation doesn't want that anymore. We have like 5 generations together. They come from different backgrounds of value and culture. They are still there, but the youngest are telling people work is in the 50 position in the priority of my life. It comes first family, second mental health, then physical health, then something that I don't remember, then work. So they are coming. They are already sensing their body. They are already doing therapy more than generations before. They already have your diversity activism in place, and work is one part of those expressions.
Yeah,
so I truly believe that maybe in a decade, this 4% is going to grow a lot. Because of them and because of each one of the other generations that are doing their own self-development. If you don't trust in me, in Tânia, or maybe the Professor Peter, Michelle also said in the stage this morning, said, you need self-development and this consciousness development. This is a must skill you need to develop. You need to get to know yourself. Do therapy, run, dance, painting. He said that in the stage as anthropologist. Yeah. You need to go after who you are.
Well, I mean, this relates, your question actually, which we didn't answer yet, was how do you do that when it takes time for things to develop? And I think what we need to understand is these aren't kind of fixed stages with clear boundaries where suddenly, oh, now I'm yellow. No, it's like the moment, if you've got a strong achiever self, orange value system, the moment that you start entering green and start working on yourself, you're starting to stream orange into yellow. So it's a process, right? So if in a company you notice that somebody's getting itchy feet in the achiever self and they're in their own time, maybe they're doing personal development stuff, if you create the conditions for them to continue working on the personal development piece also during their work time, and say that they don't have to compromise their high performer piece, right? They can still doing that, they can still keep performing, and at the same time they can be working on themselves. What you'll find is that they will become far more efficient and effective in their work. So they will start to get more done with less time. Because that's what happens when we bring these higher intelligences in. So yes, it might take time for the transition, but it's not that you lose them for a year or something, which you do if they burn out. Right? You lose them for a year and you lose the money.
Or forever because
right.
Yeah.
But if you keep them in, they can keep doing their job. But what will happen is that they will start to do it differently, and they might need a slightly different role. They'll start to be more concerned about the actual impact of the work that they're doing on the world around them. So that means it's going to force companies to think about the impact that they're having. These people aren't interested in just pure consumerism that's going to destroy the planet and kind of feed people stuff that they don't need. Not interested. So if you're a company who wants to attract whole performers, you're going to have to be really clear on the values and the positive difference you're making in the world. And a whole performer will see right through any greenwashing. They'll see right through it. And so you can't kid them, right? So it has to be authentic and it has to be honest. But you won't lose time, you see, because actually they'll become more efficient. And they'll start to add greater value to your company through the kind of coherence that they create in the culture. And they start to lift everybody else as well as they develop those human capacities. So, what the companies need to do is work out. And this is, I think, particularly with your experience, what you can be helping from the new humans is how to create these processes from HR to identify when somebody is moving out of the orange achiever self, and then how do you support them to further develop the green, because that'll bring the yellow online, which will make them far more effective for the organization.
Yes.
So you're actually building capacity for people by doing that. And I think that's the key insight, that people that understand that developmental process. And if organizations get that, they'll suddenly find all these young people wanting to come and work for them. And they'll find that they're the ones who are able to deal with the complexity. They won't get knocked off their center with it. They'll have done their work. They'll have done their inner work. They'll be able to, even under stress, they'll be able to see things clearly and make the right decisions and stuff. And it'll be a completely different kind of organization than a high-performing organization.
If I could add on that is, it's not easy, but one of the characteristics we always say in New Humans is technology should free up time. Of course, we're going to add more performance. We are already doing that. We did the book because we have our intelligence mirrored into AI's very good trained. And it happens in 4 months. The AI did not write the book, but it helped us a lot to speed up things. So yes, part of AI is going to give us back more performance. But the other things we challenge people and teams to do, it's give people free time back, because they will need to develop themselves. They cannot develop themselves like smashed every night after 10 hours of work, and in 2 days at the weekend, where all the other identity, like mother, fathers, husband, partners, daughters, whatever is your identity, it's like 5 days a week, 8 to 10 days. It's a lot to work. So one of the things that we say is, probably companies, leaders, HR, you're going to become educators of those sensitive selves, because people are still working 5 days, 8 days a week, because we have labor laws around the planet, So how can you find projects and process to help them to develop themselves into those sensitive selves inside the working hours?
I think the companies need to be the ones lobbying the governments to say,
that.
give us this flexibility, so that as we find people are needing that space to develop the sensitive self-intelligences, those human intelligences, we can be flexible. Like they can go back to, they could go to 4 days, they could work a few less hours, and they can't expect us to pay them, of course, for all of that time, but maybe a little bit, because if we want to retain them, what we'll get back with somebody with far greater capacity, to be able to really help us as a company.
Yep.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what we see every day in this research, and we see this every day, it's not that people are questioning the work, they don't want to sell their souls. Right. This is a very used expression. So it's part of our being nature, it's part of our inner nature to thrive as a whole, to go to the whole, which is the things you were saying in the beginning. So it's a natural process. We are getting more integrals. It's the way life works. And as organizations, we lost the connection with life, right? We built organizations as they were machines, as if they were an industry, as people were industries. And if we start looking at them as living organisms, and I see that in very small companies that are in my daily life, which they give space to people to be full in there, to work with these forces of life, to work with intuition, to work with inner knowledge, and that gives the possibility of amazing things to happen. So there is this main point of remembering again that we organizations, that we are all part of nature, but that leads me to this part of the question that I think it's, I don't think, maybe we don't have an answer to that, but I think it's important to put the question on the table, which is what we see about the inner development on very high C-levels and CEOs, and the importance of that, because otherwise people keep complaining that I cannot do this because the company, who is this person, the company, right? So how
I think it needs to become the norm, right? People need to understand that for you to be able to act from an integral place, an integral self, which we know is the most effective, and which really all our CEOs need to be operating from, you have to have the sensitive self embedded, which means if you're a CEO, you should be expected to be doing your inner work.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, that means you're not giving yourself the tools you need to be able to be an effective CEO. So it's not just about all the stuff you're taught in business school. Of course, you need to learn all of that as well, but we need to understand that inner development work makes you an effective CEO. And so that, that just needs to become the norm. Now, and then that's the beauty of the developmental model, because you can see, oh yeah, wow, we really need people at the top who can operate from this kind of helicopter view, from the integral view, who can see the whole, who can weave it all together, who can deal with the complexity. And if we want them to be there, we have to create the space for them to be a whole human in the organization.
I think it's we can close, and I would add or mention that we still need the references of these integral leaders. And that's going to be, I think, our work here.
Yeah.
How to celebrate them, how to study them, how to research them, how doing what they are doing, which is huge. Peter, I need to tell you honestly, the last 2 weeks, I work like a crazy achiever self, and I almost burn out again. Like I just can work from the perspective of integral self because I have time. I have time every day to deliver, to sense, to achieve, to develop, and I don't have the complexity of so many different parts and teams that we were leading these last 2 weeks to deliver this week, and I know that that's the reality of the high leadership. So many people, different references, different stages of development, consciousness, need, from students to the other VPs, and it's a lot.
No, it's over
for only one person.
It's a lot.
It's a
not,
lot.
It's not even human thing.
No, so the way we normalized what a high leadership is, it's completely toxic and unhealthy. So we operate with intuition, synchronicity, presence, all the important things that other people already told us. It's because we open up space to work with the important part. We don't deal with a high level of bureaucracy and all this kind of craziness that we still have a lot in the business world. So it is a learning curve. That's why we want to find them and celebrate them, because if you turn integral CEO, living in this 10 years, the last 10 years in a big company, you need to be a person, like, we need to celebrate you. It was easier moving out, and develop myself in a very small consultancy like my own today.
It's very unfair. We were talking about this in the car, me and Jenny coming here, because we have all been there, right? As when I'm working in consultancy, you working in IBM, and I was the one, when I was younger, the one they put it in the like problem projects, the one that works until 2:00 in the morning, and because I had the energy and all the adrenaline of doing, and what we were talking about, it's still nice sometimes to feel the whoa, like the vortex of we felt you felt it more, but we all felt a little bit. But the difference now is that we take time to regenerate ourselves. We don't do this and keep doing this the whole week. Otherwise, you cannot have the time to digest and do the inner work, because it takes time. Everybody that has gone through a divorce or death, whatever it is that life made you work on your inner side, you need time to digest things. And you cannot do this in this rhythm. So I think the way leadership it's built today, it's almost unfair, like with the leaders, and they have to take big decisions every half an hour. This is not like regenerative way of being. But I think we're gonna face in front of us in the next decade many questions on this, and I think this is, of course, maybe you are listening to us and you have like 20 questions in your mind. We have them too, because but I think it's a good time for us to put them on the table and to question some models. For example, we are also talking about how birds do the
Swarm.
they go to one place to another. How do you say it in English?
Migration.
I don't know if you know that, but they keep changing the one that is in front. So when they have to migrate and go and fly for long distance, because the one in the front, which would be the CEO, is taking the whole wind in the face.
Yeah.
And at some point, it needs to go all the way in the back. So it recovers, and someone else assumes the first position. And me and Janie, we were kind of crying, when we're talking about this, because we were telling about some situation, and I said I'm tired of this situation that I've been facing leading something, and I said I'm tired, and I really want to give
I'm ready to go to back.
I really to go give the fire to someone else and say fly a little bit here. So what would be, having like these exchange positions? We need new models.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
They are not there yet.
Yes, because I don't want to give the impression here that is just now, besides everything, you need to, it's one more thing the high leadership has to do alone, which is very lonely place. So I think we're facing as humanity here, like possibilities and questions, deep questions to answer, to face all the complexity ahead of us. So to close,
Peter, few words. Why Brazil?
Well, you're probably better placed to answer that than me. I pay attention to the signals and I follow the synchronicities. And the synchronicities that have been around between us and with the book and everything have been so huge that you can't ignore them. So Margaret Wheatley was one of my teachers early on. She was way ahead of her time when she wrote Leadership in the New Science. And she said to me at some point, you just follow the synchronicities because they tell you you're on the right path. And so when we, met and had the first conversation, I didn't know what was going to happen. We never even thought of whole performers.
Less than a year,
it was
actually.
Like, all you can do is take the next step. And if the next step feels right, you trust that the universe will reveal the step after that. So the next step, and it was then, come over here. There's this opportunity to give a talk in Brasilia. That wasn't paid a huge amount, but, they're covering the flight. And we were kind of, all right, feels right, let's do it. And then out of that, someone who was at that talk was at Swile and comes and says, oh, we'd love you to come and talk as well. Oh, okay. And we didn't know what we could do. If I could have rationally sat back and go to Brazil for an hour's talk and they're just paying me this and then stay for a week and do all sorts of other stuff. Are you kidding? Rationally,
I'm glad you didn't do this.
Achiever self of Peter would say never.
No.
But there was something that felt right, and you've just got to follow that. You've got to follow that hunch and that intuition. And so I just, whether it is that there is potentially something in Brazil, and I've noticed in African countries I've been to as well, that let's say that inner world is less buried than in Western civilization.
Beautiful.
So I think, the Industrial Revolution and the materialist scientific rational mindset that came with Orange and everything has kind of buried that inner world fairly deep in Western civilization. And it may be that, that civilization is coming to an end. It's breaking down. We can see it all around us. And the next civilization that's going to lead is going to be a civilization that has this more human foundation to it, while the Western civilization that was the bird at the front can just take a back seat for a bit, right? And rest and recover, because these people are suffering. It's huge in the West, in the global North, right? And in these industrialized countries, they need to slow down, take a step, pull back, and allow the kind of Brazils of the world to step up and go, actually, there's we have some ideas about how this could be done differently. Or some of these other, which South American country was it recently that hosted these 50 country leaders talking about climate change?
It's us, Brazil.
Was it Brazil?
Yeah, it was Brazil.
So like, okay, come here.
It was us.
We don't care whether everybody's here or not.
Yes.
Come here,
Yeah.
and we'll just work with the people who are ready to work on it.
Yeah.
We don't need global agreements. It's like a coalition of the willing, as it were.
That's
So
how I
that
feel.
kind of thing, I think. And so we're seeing the end of a civilization, but we're also seeing the birth of a new one. and I have a feeling that Brazil could have a strong role to play in that birth.
Beautiful.
Lee, to close,
Yeah.
I think the book it made itself right through you, and it was a beautiful aha moment. And I remember when Peter came back to Brasilia, he was very touched by the way it happened. Share the story.
Yeah.
Share the story.
Yes, I think the way that week happened, it was full of synchronicity. We did have many things around us. And I remember back in UK, we had the chance, and I think it's in the last moments of the book in my narrative part. So I think for closing, what I can say is I remember all this 2070 active imagination that we used to do in the UK when we met. And I did not talk to everyone there, the 35 folks that were there, imagining the future of 2070. But to the ones, I think I listened half of the story, half of the people's story. None of us saw a whole planet regenerated. We saw zones, we saw cities, we saw companies, we saw parts. And I think that's how I finished my narrative in the book. Who hosted me there? I'm gonna get emotion. It was my grandson, and he showed me schools, he showed me companies, he showed me market. How would that be in 2070? But he also told that this generation would be known as seeders, the ones who gave us references. And the way we are doing now in this 2025 to 2035, this decade, it's going to impact these 2070s. So we both believe that we are in the decade that we impact the century based on that.
So from that, this is what the next movement of New Humans is about. We are launching this week also the Leadership 2070. And it's less about a leadership training, but it's about identifying and putting together the ones that feel in their hearts they're ready to be the seeders.
Yes.
And we cry every time.
Yeah.
There's something coming up for the second semester. So if you are one of those person, let us know and to be part, because it's a calling for those who are available to think about all this and to do the work that needs to be done in sake of our daughters, granddaughters, and the future generations and our future. So I want to thank you so much for this moment and to have the honor. I had this very privileged place of watching to be done pretty close and it always touches me when seeing something being born from the soul. And it was like they did all this in 6 months. So from the aha moment to international huge stage today in Brazil. Whole performers doing as whole performers. So it was an honor to watch all this and to be part. And I want to thank you.
Thank you.
My sister from many times. Yeah. And thank you, Peter, for, being part of this and bringing this amazing thing to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay! Yes. Yeah, good job.